In the same way that can y'all just not? Hello y'all and welcome back to my channel. At some point I don't even know what I'm doing anymore with this. I'm just conducting an imaginary orchestra. But today we're going to sort of delve back into the history of YouTube and the beauty community and products and kind of give my 2 cents on products I feel like people don't talk about anymore and why I think that's happened. Obviously, these are just my opinions and these are just, conclusions I have come to due to my observance of videos that I watch in the community. And I do understand that sometimes with products, like I say in a lot of my videos, we get products are raining down from the skies every blinking day. And so it's like, just because one thing is hot and new like 2 to 3 years ago, with all the stuff that's being released, it's, kind of likely that it may have been replaced by something else. But we're just gonna go right on into it, and I'm going to start with one that does kind of show my age a little bit. This is a Z palette, but what's inside is what matters. These are Urban Decay Single Shadows. Now, back in the day, back in the early day of Soraya's makeup journey, I sort of treated Urban Decay Single Eyeshadows in the same way that a Pokemoner kind of thought of their Pokemon in the sense of, I gotta catch or I gotta have them all. Now this is a hideously pared down version, whatever, of what I used to have, because I think at one point I had like 80% of them, which for someone who doesn't use single shadows is really stupid. Now, I feel like the reasoning for people not talking about Urban Decay Single Shadows anymore is kind of twofold. I feel like Urban Decay back in the day did sort of have one of the best eyeshadow formulas on the market, and they were like the go-to when you wanted a single very standout shade. Now, Urban Decay eyeshadow singles retail for $18 a piece. And since the creation of these kind of coming on, there are just other eyeshadow formulas in high end that are better than Urban Decay. And then kind of a reoccurring theme in this whole thing is, that whole like being replaced or more, there are more options now in the sense of, we've got ColourPop and a myriad of other less expensive, more affordable brands that have really comparable formulas for a lot less than $18. So it's not necessarily that Urban Decay's single shadows are bad. It's more that Urban Decay aren't the only people with single shadows anymore. There are ones that are better, in my opinion, and there are ones that are more affordable. So kind of the need that this once filled isn't there anymore. Alright, then something that's kind of funny. This is, again, another throwback here. We have got the Jeffree Starr Supreme, Skin Frosts. Now, I remember when these released. All y'all lost your minds. We got 2 of my shades right here. This one is Peach Goddess and this one is Ice Cold. I remember when these were like constantly sold out and people were selling them on Poshmark and Mercari for like $50 and $80 a piece because they were sold out and everybody had to have them. And now that's just kind of like not the case anymore. Once again, when I watch like declutter videos or collection videos, I will find someone every once in a while who'll be like, yes, I love all of my Jeffree Starr skin frosts. They're absolutely amazing. But I feel like a large majority of the people that at least I see are kind of like, yeah, they're okay. I had to have them. They're a much more thicker, more emollient, more texture emphasizing formula. And now that the hype has died down about Jeffree Frost releasing, y'all know what I did. I ain't even gonna mention it. We're just moving on. When Jeffree Starr released highlighters, the hype is kind of down. He's come out with a better formula, and for $29, I honestly feel like there are just straight up better formulas out there. Like, these are okay. And another thing is, the formula within the shade range that he has is inconsistent, I find. I absolutely love this one and this one. They're beautiful, they're pigmented, they give me a nice high shine. But then you take Regina George and Princess Cut, and it's just kind of like, what happened? These definitely had their time, their moment, their 15 minutes of fame, but better formulas have come, and people are just kind of, I feel like, now looking past the whole, oh my goodness, you get so much highlighter and crazy colors and the swatches beautifully. We're kind of discussing things a bit more rationally now. Then something else that comes once again as I feel like a product that has succumbed to the not so flattering test of time. And these are the Lorac Pro palette, specifically the numero uno and the number 2. Now, I have had these for years. I have beaten and abused the heck out of these things. The funny thing is, I'll actually look at some of the colors that have dips in them and be like, what was I using that for? But these, at the time, in their peak, really were sort of like end-all be-all palettes. Now, these were created and existed as permanent palettes before we had options from Anastasia Beverly Hills, such as the Modern Renaissance, the Soft Glam, Sultry, etc. These were created in an era before Anastasia had permanent palettes. These were created in an era of the Smashbox, the Shade and Light. What were those? I can't remember. Smashbox had like the neutral palettes, the Urban Decay, Naked palettes, the Too Faced chocolate bar palettes, were people where I feel like, comfortable and satisfied with a more subtle color scheme. Now, Lorac is a formula that I love. I honestly need to get off my butt and I need to pan the crap out of these things. Looking at it, if you think about the insurgence of the beauty community and the insurgence of the type of influencers or people who are doing makeup and things on YouTube, these aren't exciting, which for a wide range of consumers is great. And for a while, I feel like that's what was expected and what was wanted. But in the kind of new era of what we're expecting, this isn't necessarily something that is going to draw a lot of people in. They're beautiful. The formulas are nice, but like I keep saying, in the insurgence of not just the people and the expectations, but also of products that are being released that are more revolutionary color theories and are more eye-catching and intriguing, these ones are just kind of like, hi, I'm here, I'm an old staple. And that's honestly what they're relying on at this point, is the notoriety of being an old staple rather than being necessarily something that people are drawn to just on its own. And then in that exact same vein, the Urban Decay Naked palettes. Now, we all know that this is the original, has been discontinued. But it isn't with the Urban Decay Naked palettes. It is a certain amount of the whole, the other palettes that are being released that are more interesting. But really, why people aren't talking about the Naked palettes is we've heard from a majority of people, they're tired. We're done. We are so done with the Naked palettes. Like they had the original 3 and then the Naked Smoky, and then they didn't do anything for a while, and then they came out with the Naked Heat, and people were like, oh yes, give us the oranges, the reds, the warm tones, give us. And then they did Naked Cherry and Naked Reloaded, and people were like, can you let it die now? So that's why I feel like with the Naked palettes, although they were such an important stepping stone, block, stool, ladder, an important nook in the cranny of makeup development, it's kind of reached that we're done. We're ready for something new. We want a new theme. We want a new expansion of ingenuity rather than a brand strictly relying on its old notoriety. I honestly think that people are just tired. Like every time Urban Decay is like a new Naked palette, instead people are like, ooh, what up? They're like, really? Really? Y'all couldn't have come up with something at least just a little more interesting? I mean, people lost it when Urban Decay came out with the like Naked Basics, like that one and stuff like that, because the like Ultimate Naked Basics, because it wasn't a Naked palette. And something else that is obviously another very twofold item. You got the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette, as well as the Contour palette. Now, like a lot of palettes that I have spoken of in this video, once again, although this palette I feel was a titchy bit more revolutionary than the Lorac Pro or the Urban Decay Naked palette or the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, in the sense that this started to embrace that sort of all matte trend. It was very nifty because you had the cool tone, the neutral, and the warm tone quads going on here. You know, it had a lot going for it. But once again, we can just state that, you know, there are palettes that have come out from a myriad of other brands, both high-end and affordable, that just offer more than this one does. And then obviously we have to have sort of the reason why people aren't talking about this anymore is because a lot of people are moving the Kat Von D products out of their collections. I was watching my girl Smoky Glow. She was doing some kind of declutter and she was talking about wanting to pan her Kat Von D contour palette so she can move it on out. And so it is kind of sad, but it's you know, a testament to the era, the certain time period of this makeup, you know, where at some point this was an end-all be-all palette, and then time has passed, more things have come out, and, you know, the owner kind of did a horrible whatever. And now it's no longer in that high level of esteem, where at one point, this would have been one of the ultimate palettes I would have recommended to y'all. And then we might as well go and talk, if we're talking about all these, we gotta mention the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, which is another thing, once again, especially like the Urban Decay makeup, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, when it happened, it still smells amazing. But when it was created and, you know, put out on the market, you're like, yeah, that's cool, that's revolutionary, that's pretty nifty. It was cool and it was revolutionary and it was pretty nifty because the market was nowhere near as saturated then as it is now. And I also feel like we're gonna get a little bit real here. I feel like at the time, once again, because the market wasn't as saturated, there weren't as many brands, we weren't releasing as much, Too Faced had a pretty good formula. Then, as time has passed and we've released more things from different brands, people kind of like Urban Decay are realizing, well, it's an okay formula. It's not necessarily a formula that outperforms a lot of others. It's just sort of all right. And when you take something like this and you compare it to Anastasia, Beverly Hills, or you compare it to Colored Rain, Geoffrey Starr, Juvia's Place, a myriad of other eyeshadow formulas that kind of come in a, you know, a whatever price range from high to low, you just kind of look at this and you're like, what's the point? And I do want to clarify by saying, obviously, these are just my opinions, and if these are things that you absolutely love, I mean, I love my Kat Von D shading line. I love my Lorac Pro palettes, you know. I'm not trying to diss y'all. I'm not trying to diss the product. It's a video idea, guys, that's all. And then sort of last but not least is, I mean, it's a product that I absolutely love, are the Anastasia Beverly Hills glow kits. Now, when these originally came out, people lost their minds. I mean, it was one of those things, another thing where it would be sold out and then you'd go on to Poshmark and Mercari and it would be like, well, you can have it if you got $100. Everyone was making fakes and replicas. You got the Moonchild right here and then you got the Aurora right here. Both of these are permanent. Now, I don't think people aren't talking about these because these aren't a formula, that this is not a bad formula or formula that has necessarily been surpassed by something else. I feel like people aren't really talking about these. Well, one, she hasn't released one since the Dream Glow Kit. But I feel like when it comes to like highlighter palettes or face palettes, when this first happened, this first whole glow kit concept, people were like, yes, this is the most amazing thing. We've never seen something like this before. And now people, once again, we jumped on the highlighter trend and there's so many things that we're just like, okay, we're good, we're good, we're good. And also in the same sense of we're smarter consumers now. And when we look at something, we're looking at it more objectively. Like you'll see something, you're like, well, I can use 2 out of the 6 shades. So we're not immediately jumping on it because we're giving more thought to it. There's a lot less hype behind something that, you know, we'd never seen before, where we just have to have it because it's amazing. And then we're actually sitting back and thinking and looking at it more critically instead of just being totally and completely consumed by the concept of a new glow kit, which y'all know I will always be. The glow kit could be 20 shades of brown and I would still buy it. But that is just me. I simply think that we are being much more informed consumers. We're looking at things more objectively, and we're really honestly taking a look at quality over quantity and really giving thought to what we are putting into our collections, and also really holding brands accountable for what they're releasing. All right, y'all, we're at like 25 minutes. Like I said before, this is just my opinion, my observations. I'm not trying to make any of y'all butt hurt in any kind of way. Obviously, I would love to hear y'all's opinions on, you know, the products that I talked about here. I would love to hear about things that you don't think people are talking about anymore and why. Like products that used to be like end all be all products, and does it have to do with just the natural passage of time? Or are there more underlying reasons why people don't necessarily care about this anymore? But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you. And as always, keep it real. Mwah!